From Washington, this is VOA News. The Syrian peace talks, not much accomplished, and the president of Ukraine signs a law that provides amnesty, but the protesters say no thank you. I'm Joe Palca, reporting from Washington. The first round of peace talks between Syria's warring sides has ended with little progress, but did lay a foundation for future negotiations expected next month. UN mediator Lakhdar Brahimi.
Progress is very slow indeed, but the sides have engaged in an acceptable manner. This is a very modest beginning, but it is a beginning on which we can build.
Mr. Brahimi explained the gaps between the sides remain wide on everything from how to spend to end the fighting, how to get humanitarian aid into besieged areas, but there were some conciliatory moments.
They have presented positions and listened to one another. There have been moments when one side has even acknowledged the concerns and the difficulties and the point of view of the other side.
Mr. Brahimi announced the next round of negotiations would probably begin February 10th, pending agreement from the Syrian government. Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych has signed into law a bill on amnesty for anti-government protesters. The 63-year-old president Friday signed the legislation that grants amnesty to those detained during anti-government protests on condition they leave government buildings they have occupied. Opposition leaders have rejected the measure, which the president acted on after announcing a day earlier that he had gone on sick leave for an acute respiratory infection and fever. Scott Stearns is with Secretary of State John Kerry and filed this report.
President Yanukovych says his political opponents are escalating the crisis, unlike his own government, which he says has fulfilled its obligations to end the standoff by replacing the prime minister and granting a conditional amnesty for arrested protesters. But Secretary Kerry says the Yanukovych government still has work to do.
The offers of President Yanukovych have not yet reached an adequate level of reform and an adequate level of sharing of the future so that the opposition can in fact feel that it could legitimately come to the table and form some kind of unity government.
Scott Stearns, VOA News, Berlin.
For more on this story, visit our website at voanews.com. The International Committee of the Red Cross says at least 30 people have been killed in the Central African Republic's capital over the last 3 days. The relief organization says it recovered the bodies from the streets of Bangui. It also says at least 60 people have been injured in an unprecedented level of violence. Stock indexes tumbled in the U.S. and Europe on Friday as investors worried about the faltering fortunes of emerging market countries across the globe. Markets dropped in New York, Frankfurt, Paris, and London in a broad sell-off, the latest of several market retreats that have pushed down stock prices throughout January. The value of currencies in Hungary, Turkey, and South Africa weakened, and world financial leaders voiced concern about the withdrawal of investment money from emerging economies. United States President Barack Obama says he believes the Russian city of Sochi, scheduled to host the upcoming Winter Olympic Games, is safe, and Americans who want to go should continue with their plans. Mr. Obama spoke to CNN television on Friday to discuss the Olympics, which begin on February the 7th, and his new plan to encourage major companies to hire more of the long-term unemployed in the United States. A report by the State Department has raised no major environmental objections to a proposed oil pipeline from Canada to the southern coast of the United States. The report moves the Obama administration closer to making a final decision on whether to approve the program after more than 5 years of deliberation. The proposed pipeline would carry more than 800,000 barrels extracted from the oil lands of Alberta, Canada, to the Texas coast. It's a big week in the U.S. as the nation's premier sporting event, the Super Bowl, pits the Denver Broncos versus the Seattle Seahawks. The game's on Sunday. It will attract hundreds of millions of viewers from around the globe. Super Bowl commercials have become must-see TV, almost as big as the game itself. It's the only day of the year when the viewers don't hit the mute button or go to the bathroom during a timeout. And how much for a 30-second commercial on the Super Bowl? Sponsor has to pay $4 million. Joe Palca for VOA News.
bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Yeah, it's Friday night, my fellow Americans, my fellow patriots. Here we go. We're already starting to show off on a bad note. My channel just dropped out, so we're going to reset it and we'll be back. Let's see. There we go. Much better. You know, I got to get a new board. I got to get, let's redo that again. No, we're not going to redo that again. That's live. Once again, it never ends. I think he's just messing with me. I think they're just messing with. I would say that if this board was hooked up to the internet, it would be a conspiracy. But no, it is not hooked up to the internet. It's the soundboard. We have figured it out. Maybe if Mama lets me save up a little money, I'll get another one. Nah, we got bills to pay. We got other priorities. I'll just have to do with what I've got. But yeah, right at the beginning of the show, soundboard goes out. But you are listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. I will guide you through the evening for the next 3 hours as we talk about news, topics, anything you want to talk about. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Love to hear from you. But without further ado, before we get too far into the evening, let's take care of a little bit of business here.
The following words were spoken by the late Red Skelton on his television program as he related the story of his teacher, Mr. Laswell, who felt his students had come to think of the Pledge of Allegiance as merely something to recite in class each day. Now, more than ever, listen to the meaning of these words. I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. May I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one. Pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. United, that means that we've all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, and not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands one nation. One nation meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others, for all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God. Now, wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that's a prayer, and that it would be eliminated from schools too? God bless America.
The great Charlie Daniels reciting Red Skelton. Wow, it's amazing. We look at, especially Red Skelton. I remember growing up with him, and not growing up, but watching his old shows. It's quite a few years ago. But watching some of his old shows, and never really realized how truly a patriot Mr. Skelton was. But that was Charlie Daniels' rendition of a speech that Red Skelton gave on his show one night in rebuke to what was going on at the time in our nation's history. Kind of like what's going on today. Now, one more part that we want to do is everybody please rise and raise your right hand. I, Jeffrey W. Norton, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the organic Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear truth and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Now we can begin our show. Once again, I want to tell people, I want to stress to you, a lot of people, well, the office of which you're taking. It doesn't take you long to listen to this show for you to understand where I stand, where most of my audience stands. The highest office that anybody in this country, this great nation of ours, could ever hold is the office of citizenship. Being a citizen. That's why people come from far. Of course, the Dems and the Republicans will try to make it a thing of money and inequality in their home countries in which they come here. But true immigrants that come to this country come because of the freedoms. Come because of the opportunities. Not because of untold glory or wealth. They come for the noblest of causes, to contribute, to be a part of. What is going on today in Congress, the halls of Congress and up there in D.C. is a travesty, is an insult to all legitimate immigrants to this country. See, these politicians are diminishing the true nature of immigration in the United States. They're making it an economic or a voting or a power play. But they're not realizing that the true nature of immigration in the United States are people who want to contribute, who want to be part of, who want to be free. Want to be free. I just want you to think about that as we roll into tonight. I'm sure the immigration topic will come up quite a bit in tonight's conversations and also throughout the week. But remember that. Don't fall into the trap of the media and how they spin it. I was thinking about that today as I was thinking about some of my friends who have immigrated, some of my family members who have immigrated to this great country. They didn't come here because of money. They didn't come here because of a job. They came here to escape their country. They believed in the stories and the opportunities that were told to them about this great nation. And I've told people this quite a bit. When you're in a great marriage, everything else just kind of falls in place. And that's kind of like what it is. So if you come here under the noblest of causes, if you come here to contribute and to be a part of, that doesn't mean take your money somewhere else. That doesn't mean desecrate our flag. Doesn't mean spit on our laws and our constitutions and try to change the laws of this land to match the corrupt laws of your land. I'll tell you, there is a place for you in this country, and you will always be welcomed. always be welcomed. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host. Join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or, of course, on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com. That is www.themidnightpatriot.com. Now we it never ends. We put in some new code
for all your prepping needs. Visit our friends at Mountain.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives.
And of course, as I sit here and tell you, we'll just kind of let this one play out.
Oh, the sunshine sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when those love lights shine all around us. So let that feeling grab you.
From
Washington. It never ends. It never ends. We are trying to work through this. We got some, like I said, we did some new code for the show, and apparently it's just not going to play right. So what we'll do is kind of run through it here, get it on a manual mode. Actually, you know what? I think what we'll do is we'll kick off to some music. I'll get this fixed. When we get back from the break, we'll talk about the news.
Everyone's watching to see what you do. Everyone's looking at you. Oh, everyone's wondering, will you come out tonight? Everyone's trying to get it right, get it right. Everybody's working for the weekend.
From Washington, this is
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details.
You'll agree with anything that I say. If I change my mind, you'll change it that way. Well, I've tried, there's nothing inside. I can get to you. I can get to you.
There we go. Maybe we got everything in sync now. We're back. This is Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I had a little hiccup there at the beginning. I remember many a times, I share this story, listening to Art Bell, growing up on Art Bell, Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM. I do listen to George Norrie and Wells and all those guys every once in a while when I get time. Need to unwind. But Art Bell, and I used to hear their system kick in, where it would just kick in. And I was like, gosh, you would think an operation like that with 8 million listeners, they'd have their stuff together. Well, you know what? I am learning. This is not easy. This is not easy at all. But we're going to get through it. We shall overcome. As we all sit around the campfire, singing Kumbaya. Not really. I'm not a hippie. So, some shouts out to some friends today. Dan, George, George. It was really cool to hear from you yesterday, George. Glad to hear that you're listening to the show. Thank you. Craig, everybody that I spoke with, Thomas today, JJ, it's just it was a good day today. If you can't tell, I got a little pep in my step. Yeah, might have something to do with the pot of coffee that's sitting in front of me. I don't know. Maybe. But, we'll get through the night. We'll get through the night together. If you want to give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Love to hear from you. Love to have you join the conversation. Today was a good day. Like most, we actually did spin up another show. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to listen to Thomas Show Resurrect the Republic Radio, which aired right here on PatriotFB.com from 10 o'clock till 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Central. Great show. A lot of great information. And, one of the things, we changed the oath. And I want to tell you, I am learning myself. This is an education process. I'm not going to sit up here and act like I know everything like other radio hosts do. I am not the chosen one. I say I have, obviously my gift to gab is a gift from God. But I'm not going to say it on loan. It's not on loan. He just gives it to me. But I'm not going to act like I know everything. I know a lot more. I know a lot more than I tend to lead on, though. But I was talking with Thomas. His new show, Republic, here. And it evolves. His show, his whole premise of his show revolves around the 14th Amendment, mainly. And I was enlightened. I was enlightened on how the words mean something. And I know that in a legal sense. Trust me, I know that in a legal sense. And, if you look at Black's Law Dictionary, which is basically the dictionary for legal terms, the words of the 14th Amendment actually counter. And I'm going to share this with you. And I'm by no stretch am I an expert. I am learning on this journey as well with you. But the words here in Section 1, all persons born and naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. That, when you are a subject to the jurisdiction, you are giving up your freedom. Actually, if you look in the Black Laws Dictionary, that is actually the term used to remove your freedom. That's right. And this journey is just incredible. My eyes are opening up because I've always asked, how can constitutional scholars, people that we were told, I just thought they were ignorant. I thought they were greedy. For whatever reason, I was under the impression that they were just Well, I know they're puppets of the New World Order, but I always thought that they were just ignorant to the Constitution. I knew better. Constitution clearly says, why do they feel that they can change that? Well, they are constitutional scholars because they understand the words have meanings. And the words of the 14th Amendment, when the 14th Amendment was added in July 9th of 1868, it transformed the U.S. Constitution from a law based on natural law, God-given law, and placed us as subjects to the empire. Yeah, I want to play the Star Wars death theme here. But it did. And those words, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, those are the key words. So everything that you thought you knew about the Constitution of the United States, every right that you cite, that you throw out there, you gotta look at this. Got to look at the 14th, Section 1, and you will understand clearly that it's all out the window. It's all out the window. So be glad to take your calls. I see that we have a caller. So, caller, go ahead. You're listening, or you're talking to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show. Give your first name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Jeff. It's Matt from Lodi, California.
Hey, Matt from Lodi. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing real well. I'll start off by telling you I was finally able to break through, and I actually considering it breakthrough, into PatriotFB.com today. Oh, yay!
Yeah, I am sorry. I have to apologize. I don't know why I'm apologizing for Facebook. But
no, it's not your fault, and that's exactly where the glitch came in because I did the lazy thing and tried to go log in with Facebook. Yeah,
it's not, and I do apologize. We sent out a mass email to everybody to let them know that, and Facebook, and have you had any problems with your Facebook account to begin with?
The only thing that I've noticed that's strange out of my Facebook account is every time I'm on it now, for some reason, the GPS on my phone pings on.
Yep. I have, and I'm asking that question, and let me tell you why. I have gotten reports, and it's not anything, everybody is supportive of what we're doing here, but I have gotten reports from fellow Patriot FB members who have used Facebook, and they are saying that when they go to their Facebook account, they have noticed that they're getting blind phone calls from unknown callers. They've also said that their Facebook accounts, when they post things, they're not showing up. When they will be sent messages and texts, or not, messages from their friends, and they're not being shown up, or they're not being delivered to them. And I'm hearing a lot of those complaints. And everybody, it's too, I don't know if it's systematic, if everybody is doing it, but when I hear it from fellow Patriot FB members that it's all started, I'm wondering if there's an attack on you guys.
Well, Jeff, it honestly doesn't really matter to me. I'm honestly just having way too much fun with it.
Yeah.
I'm in, my profile's set up, and I like what I'm reading.
Yeah.
Now, I've been listening to your show.
Yes.
And a gentleman called in the other night talking about the driver license issue.
Yes.
And you had done some follow-up research.
Yes, we did some research on that. Yes, absolutely. Now,
and I appreciate that.
Yep. Now, I will tell you this. I still got to do, because I am finding out, part of my research is I'm actually finding out that there are words. It's amazing. I feel like I want to go to night law school, but I got so many things on my plate I can't do it. I am actually reading, the laws within Obamacare. And And one of the things is I could not find, I'll tell you, I could not find anything that said specifically, like, if you don't pay your child support, you can lose your CDL, and, those are laws. I could not find anything specific to you losing your driver's license. However, though, there's a caveat, and we talk about this on the show. There's a backdoor way that you can do it. Say if you are divorced and you don't provide health care and you're mandated under your divorce decree, under those guidelines, you can lose your driver's license.
Can I give you a quick Google search?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I also try to do a little bit of homework, and I don't know how truthful this website is. It's the internet.
Yeah.
Take it as you can.
Bonjour. You ever watch that commercial? Bonjour. I'm a French model. Bonjour. So, yeah.
The gentleman who claims that this has actually happened to him and he's received these kinds of emails, his personal name is William Sheehan.
Yes.
And he supposedly had posted comments about this on healthcare.gov on their Facebook about a repercussion email he had received after he decided to opt out.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
So
very
I would really
familiar.
appreciate any kind of research you could have put to that, because I work entirely too much to do a lot of research.
Yeah. No, I'm actually very familiar with that. That was one of the articles that I did read. Now, that was, we can't control. Look, I get emails from people all the time because I put my email account out there. I mean, I'm on a terrorist jihad list. I'm on a, I can't, you can't believe. I mean, I'm looking at the law. I'm not saying, though, that there's not a stretch there, because there are penalties for not complying with the IRS codes. And this law clearly falls under the IRS codes. So I don't, like most things. And the other thing, too, that I'm having, and I got to get with Joe. He's on vacation. He's our chief librarian / researcher here at Patriot FB. There are actually two Obamacare laws. Now, the one that I have access to right now is because the original law is on my other system, so I don't have that one because that system crashed, and I'm in the process of restoring the hard drives. But the one that I have, which what I call primetime version, a lot of Americans don't know this. The Obamacare law, there are actually two laws. The one that was passed in the congressional law and that was enacted. They didn't publish that one, and there was a part of it was out and about prior to, and then they pulled it off of the WhiteHouse.gov site. And that law, and I've seen it firsthand where they talk about RFID chips, biological RFID chips. Now, in the law that's been published for our consumption for primetime, that section has been completely removed. So I'm not saying that there isn't a provision, but what I am saying is that the law as written, there is not we can't find a provision for it, or the law that's published. Now, like I said,
now you have obviously done more reading than I have, and I thoroughly appreciate you for that.
Oh no, that's what we do.
In that law, can we actually safely say that it is so broadly written?
Yes.
That it can possibly encompass anything?
Oh, they can do anything. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm having a board problem. I'm going to reset my board one more time because I'm only coming out on the right channel. So let me reset it, and then I'm going to come back. Give me 1 second.
You betcha.
All right. I want everybody to hear this in stereo. So there is a provision. I mean, I found this. This is kind of scary. There's a provision in the law that basically says that restaurants have to now print their caloric intake of their food if they have more than 20 employees. I don't know. What is that? Your number of employees that you have in your restaurant, how does that? So, I'm not saying, and that's what happens when they write a law that's bigger than, than a whole collection of encyclopedias, and then the regulations. That's the other part of it too. You have the law, and then you have all the regulations that revolve around that law. And, it's look, this government, and I've said this, if there isn't a law on the books, there will be. I'm not doubting that one bit, because they're finding out that Americans aren't signing up for Obamacare. It is going to fail miserably unless they can get more people to sign up.
Thankfully, there is a provision within our laws that state if enough people in this country fail to recognize a law, it at that point ceases to become a law.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Thank God for that.
Well, it's trial by
that's paraphrasing, but
no, you're correct. I mean,
the other night you also mentioned an executive order, and I left my notes at work, and I should know better because I was on student government, Lincoln Douglas debate, team debate. I know better, but I left my notes behind.
Executive
and
order.
I don't have the number of that executive order.
I got it right here for you.
But I read up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course my dad laughed at me because there were so many pages.
Yep.
And he said they do that on purpose so no one will read them.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him, well, they haven't met me.
Yeah.
And I proceeded to read that executive order.
Yes.
Now, the paraphrasing that I draw from it, to put it in simple terms, means that by that executive order, which, to be fair, has existed since Truman.
Yes.
Means that they can acquiesce any resources,
yes,
materials, skills, knowledge,
yes,
and labor that they see as necessary to the survival of the government.
Yes.
Am I correct in that assessment?
You are absolutely correct. And for those and for those that are listening, it's Executive Order 13603 is what we're talking about. And you're correct. And it, a lot of people don't realize that our national highways, the way that if you ever drive down a highway, it was designed.
What, the Harry S. Truman highways?
Yeah, it was
the Eisenhower highways.
Exactly. It was. They were designed. And the way that the bridges were designed, a lot of Americans don't know this, but they were designed. If you look at stretches of highways, you will see that they slope up or they slope down, depending on what direction you're coming to. They are designed as backup military bases, and actually the overpasses or underpasses were designed as hangars. That was all designed. When they did the federal highway funding and all of that, and they put that together, that was one of the criteria of the highways, is that they had to be constructed in such a way that military aircraft could land and take off from them. So, now back at that, we were worried about foreign invaders. Now we have to worry about internal issues. So, but yeah, no, the law, the Executive Order 13603, you are absolutely correct. It allows the government at any time when that executive order is enacted to requisition take by force or by any means anything that they deem necessary. If me as an expert in whatever, or you as an expert machinist,
people,
yeah, they can put a gun to your head and say, you're going to build these tanks, or you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And a lot of people don't realize that. They just don't get it. They don't understand that there are executive orders in place right now for the commandeering of Americans and an American product.
To be fair,
yeah,
Truman was president in what decade? What, the 30s?
In the 30s, absolutely. 40s? But you know what, though? If you look at the time and you look at the history and stuff, look at the 60s and the Weathermen and the terrorist, the terrorist activities that were going on and the bombings by the Weathermans back in the 60s and the 70s. The confidants of the president, Joseph Ayers and those guys, those clowns. But yeah, I mean, this has been an issue for quite a while.
Well,
you had a
what I mean by, to be fair, is that these powers have been in place. Yeah. If Truman was president in the 30s,
yes,
for 85 years,
yes, yeah,
and we're only surprised now.
Well,
that's what I mean.
It's not that
we can blame Obama for so much, but these powers have been in place for a very long time.
But you know what, though? I'll be the first one to tell you, and the concern is you are correct. I mean, a lot of these executive orders, President Bush has a lot. Clinton did a lot. The concern.
Now, Obama for expanding upon them, but
Well, I think Obama. This is the thing: is I don't know what's in a man's heart, and neither do you. No one really does. All we can do is look at their actions. What concerns me about Obama is that he would execute these executive orders against us, where when Truman and Eisenhower and those guys, they were looking at foreign enemies. They were looking at outside the walls and the borders of the United States. They weren't looking at internal concerns.
I was so hoping you would make that point.
Yes, I think it was. I think that you got to look at the heart of man. Naturally, if you're in a state of war, or you're on a war footing, you're going to do everything possible to win that war. I mean, look what we did, the internment of the Japanese citizens. And that was wrong, and I'm against it. But they were looking because of the war, the external war, not the internal strife or war. The only enemy we have here in the United States is ourselves. Russia, they have their own problems. China, obviously, they have their issues now. They're gearing up, and I think we're going to have an issue with them coming soon. But I mean, you are more likely to be accosted or assaulted by a law enforcement or your own government than you are by a foreign entity. And I think the best political play, if I was a member of some country's cabinet, is I would sit back and get the popcorn and watch us eat ourselves. And that's exactly I would do
now,
things.
Being a good red-blooded American, I was born and raised in the most liberal state in the Union.
Yep.
I was turned into a man in states that they still don't recognize that the Civil War has ended.
Yeah.
And I have been able to balance the two, thankfully. I just don't see where anyone is accepting personal responsibility.
No, I mean, look at Atlanta. Just this week alone. Look at Atlanta, how they're all sitting there crying to the government should, we were talking about that tonight at dinner with my family and my daughter. We were saying, the kids had to stay at school, and, the kids were stored on the school bus, and everybody's complaining to the government, saying that they didn't do enough. They didn't take care of them. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. Where is the personal responsibility? Where is the parents that go, hey, you know what? The weather is not going to be good today. The weatherman is saying, you know what? You're going to stay home. But, that's what happens when the government becomes your protector and your guardian, is that, parents now, instead of going, well, you know what? For the safety of my child, I don't think they're going to go to school today. They're more fearful, well, if my kids don't go to school today, they're going to get docked, or they're going to get in trouble, or they're, whatever. And that, that's all that whole nanny state mentality.
And I followed a lot of that because, that's right around the heart. I was 3.5 hours from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Where I lived. So, that's my country.
Yeah.
And, even as I followed it, the kids that were stranded on that school bus, I was not worried about them.
Yeah.
Because I know the way that most of those kids on that bus were raised. And I know out of at least all of them kids, there had to have been at least one or two. At least. There's no way in that area of the country that there's not one or two kids on that school bus that their parents taught them right and said, in the event of an emergency, this is what you do.
Yeah. Well, you didn't.
And it was probably those one or two kids that got everybody through it. Yeah. So I wasn't worried for them because I knew there had to have been, by the rule of odds, one or two kids.
Yeah.
That were taught better.
Well, I wasn't, it's one of these things, there was, being a pilot, I used to fly civilian aircraft, and one of the things my instructor once instilled in me very early on is, as a pilot, you always want to be on the ground wishing you were in the air. You never want to be in the air wishing you were on the ground. That's a bad time. And, to be honest with you, yeah, the kids were hunkered down, on the highway or at the schools and everything. But you know what? They were safe. And, the questions, I guess the part that I question is the decision-making process to that point is what I am questioning. Where were the parents? Should have had a little comment. I grew up in the South. When they tell you,
I've been in that area, and sometimes you send your kids to school and everything's hunky dory, and then about noontime, right about supper, right about dinner,
I know
everything turns to shit.
Yep,
and it can get scared real fast. So you teach your kids what to do.
Yeah, and that. I mean, but like I said, I grew up in outside of Nashville.
But you don't need the government to tell them that they're going to be okay, because you have done your job as a parent.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, the only question is that me as a parent in that situation, I'd be like, you're not going to school today. It's just not going to happen. They're telling ICE. I mean, they predicted. It's kind of like, Katrina. They told everybody it was
you
coming.
See it coming, you don't be a moron.
Yeah, exactly. So,
well, I will let you go, and I just wanted to address. Oh, and I did do a little reading on that 14th Amendment that you guys were talking about yesterday.
Yes.
And I do believe it's very well possible, us as American public, when they allowed the rewriting of that bill, that we may have screwed ourselves.
Oh, we did. Yeah, Restoration of the Republic, which is a show that's now on here on Patriot FB Radio every Monday through Friday from it's 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's all they really talk about is the 14th Amendment. They talk about the other ones, but mainly they key in on the 14th. And these are very knowledgeable non-bar member attorneys and individuals who are very knowledgeable in the law and especially constitutional law. It's an amazing conversation.
Sir, I do appreciate your show because, I consider myself somewhat of a scholar. I actually had an invitation to Mensa at one point in time. I try very hard to dumb myself down just so I can wrap my head around things. And I thought I had a good wrap on what the Constitution was, and I keep a copy of it with me at all times in my toolbox, and I keep a copy of the Declaration of Independence. But you taught me something very, very new that I did not read before. And I went back and read it, and it was very startling.
It is. And it's not because I knew of it. I'd like to take credit for it, but I'm not. I mean, it was, I was set straight. That's what the show's all about. It's about the open conversation and sitting around the table, in this case, sitting around the microphone and having these conversations. And, I have learned, what I thought was, real has been nothing but a shill. And that's a legal term, too. Stuff. So I am learning as well. In this process. So, I tell everybody, join in with us here at Patriot FB, and we'll kind of learn together. So, but
yes, sir, I will log in daily now that I am finally in, and
yes.
I do appreciate your show, and I'm going to get off here and allow other people to come in and allow you to go back to your original topic.
Sure.
But if I can I leave you a quote from Winston Churchill?
Absolutely.
Just to put things in perspective.
Go ahead.
Winston Churchill once said, if you're 20 years old and you're a conservative...
Their first year behind the wheel, it can be one of the most dangerous years of their lives. So Toyota created
40 years old
365 to help you talk to your
and
team
you're a
about
liberal,
safe driving. Toyota.
You have no
Let's go
brain.
Places safely.
No,
Wyoming
I'd just
was
like
the
to
most
leave you with
conservative
that.
state last year, while Washington, D.C. was the most
I
liberal,
have no
according
idea.
to a
See?
new Gallup poll. More than half
Do you
of
hear-
Wyoming residents
are
were
you hearing
conservative
music
in
come through?
2013. About 30.
I hear a news broadcast.
Yeah, that is bizarre. I am looking at our board, and there is nothing on our board. Nothing
Holy
that is playing that. There's nothing keyed up. There's nothing on our board that's playing that. I heard it too.
If the NSA was listening, all I really meant was if you're young and dumb, you're supposed to be.
That's it. No, I want you. Can you redo? No, can you redo that Winston Churchill? Because I want to hear that again. Because I was getting news or whatever in my board. Can you read?
Okay.
Can you re-say that?
Winston Churchill, his direct quote at one point in time, he said that if you are 20 years old and you are a Republican, a statesman, you have no heart. If you're 40 years old and you're a liberal, you have no brain. And it's just a way of putting things into perspective.
Gotcha. No, I agree with that. JJ has a really great quote from President Reagan. I have to pull it up there. It's some awesome quotes from him, but thanks.
I'd love to hear them.
Oh yeah, they're incredible. If you listen to the JJ McCarty show from 2 to 4, he does a bit where he's compiled about 5 minutes of just President Reagan quotes, and they're just incredible. Just incredible.
Oh wow!
So, all right,
well,
my friend
Jeff, I appreciate the conversation, but I'm going to get off now so I can get ready to go to bed.
All right, thank you, my friend. Take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for indulging me.
Not a problem. So there you go. That's what it's all about right here at Patriot FB. And, it's all about the conversation. We want you to call in. We want you to be a part of the conversation. So what we're going to do is take a quick break. I'm going to figure out where that feed came in. All sorts of crazy things. All sorts of crazy things are happening tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed, but the channel came back. So we'll take a look at that, and my left channel's working. So as I'm getting messages from people, so we'll take a break and we'll get back. We'll
www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for president. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Resources are available for military families. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
Honey, why don't you ask me when we hit the outskirts of town?
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You join us live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.patriotfb.com. That was one of the most bizarre things. I need to get some of the Ghostbuster guys into the studio here. That was bizarre. As we were talking, for those that don't know, in the last segment, I've identified that we do have an issue with our soundboard, so that's why the channels go up and down. We were able to isolate that today, and we'll try to get a fix on it this weekend. I have a buddy who's a big-time sound engineer. I'm going to have him come over and take a look at it. Maybe we'll move it over to a different port or something. So we've identified that. But as in the last segment, as the caller was on and we were talking about Winston Churchill and we were talking about things, a news feed came in, which is not one of our news feeds. Just came in over the air. I don't know if you guys heard that. And I'm looking, and so you understand we use a product and it's pretty complex, but nothing plays unless we push a button or unless it's programmed. And I can tell you, it tells us what's queued up and what's ready to go. It's a very robust piece of software for the radio industry, and there was nothing on deck. And there's, the board, it runs all from this computer. So that was something that was being sent to my computer. It wasn't even being sent to Spreaker. So it's not like someone, got into Spreaker and was doing a double feed, because I don't listen to the Spreaker feed. The only thing I got hooked in is my hybrid for my phones and the computer right here in front of me. And the only thing that runs on this computer while I'm doing the show is the feed software, the SAM broadcasting software, which was really bizarre. So for us to get an overlay like that, a news overlay, it was coming from my computer. How bizarre is that? That is insane. That's scary. Maybe Big Brother is watching us. Well, I know they're watching us. Maybe they're messing with it. I was talking with Thomas the other day, and he was talking about some of the events that he went to for Oath Keepers and different events, and he was talking about how his computer, the computer that he uses, both of them were sitting on a pedestal, on a podium, both computers, and at the same time they fritzed out. And he was telling me how every computer except for his iPads have completely been trashed for no apparent reason. Even Apple's like, we don't know. Now, I know that we've been hacked. Our servers have been shut down. Now they can't get content. Now let me tell you why. The database is encrypted. The data in the database is encrypted. So without those keys, and those keys are done in such a way that you got to have the passcode to get them. And we can see the traffic coming off of the server. And we know that. I mean, we have a security team. And hats off to my security guys. Just unbelievable. Guys at Atom Inc., part of Paradigm, or Palladian. He's got bought out. These guys are world-class security experts. World-class. And, they put software. I have software now on our servers that monitor. It's unbelievable, the amount of attacks that we go through every day. But that was really bizarre for me to be sitting here and all of a sudden, an overlay came on top of our audio, kind of trying to drown us out. I'm going to go back and listen to it and see what the news article was. See if it was kind of against what we're doing. So as we get to the top of the hour here, listen to the news. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about news. Take your calls live. You're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot.
PatriotFB.com.
From Washington, this is VOA News. World markets a bit shaky today, and the Syrian peace talks accomplish little. but they do accomplish a little. I'm Joe Palca, reporting from Washington. The first round of peace talks between Syria's warring sides has ended with little progress, but did lay a foundation for future negotiations expected next month. Al Pessin reports for VOA.
The United Nations and Arab League mediator Lakhdar Brahimi presented 10 points he believes the two sides agree on, but he acknowledged the list did not amount to much, mainly consisting of general statements about the need to negotiate a solution, ease the suffering of the Syrian people, and build a country with respect for democracy and human rights.
Progress is very slow indeed, but the sides have engaged in an acceptable manner.
The two sides could not even reach agreement on humanitarian issues, but Brahimi said that during 8 days of difficult meetings, the government and opposition delegations got used to sitting in the same room, something it was not initially clear whether they would do at all. Al Pessin, VOA News, London.
Mr. Brahimi announced the next round of negotiations would probably begin February 10th. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says Syria is not meeting international obligations to destroy its chemical weapons under a deal brokered by the U.S. and Russia. Scott Stearns was with the Secretary and filed this report.
A month past the deadline to remove Syria's most dangerous chemical weapons, Kerry says the United States is deeply concerned by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's failure to meet the timetable. Mr. Assad agreed to the schedule with the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or OPCW.
Now, Bashar al-Assad is not, in our judgment, fully in compliance because of the timing and the delays that have taken place, contrary to the OPCW's judgment that this could move faster.
Kerry spoke to reporters alongside German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier. Speaking through a translator, Steinmeier said Syrian delay risks Russia's standing on this issue as well. Scott Stearns, VOA News, Munich.
Syria's government says security and logistical obstacles have slowed the collection and transportation of its chemical weapons. Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych has signed into law a bill on amnesty for anti-government protesters. Now, the legislation grants amnesty to those detained during anti-government protests on the condition they leave government buildings. Opposition leaders say they reject the measure, which the president acted on after announcing a day earlier he'd gotten sick. Tensions in Ukraine rose Thursday after opposition activist Dmytro Bulatov was found outside Kyiv with cuts and bruises to his face. He'd been missing since January 22nd. Dana Neistat is an associate director of Human Rights Watch.
I think the president's silence under the circumstances is unacceptable. We know he's on sick leave, but unless he's absolutely incapable of saying a few words, he should be now on TV making it very clear, sending a very clear signal that this is unacceptable.
Mr. Bulatov says he was kidnapped by unknown abductors and held for days before being abandoned in a forest. Stock indexes tumbled in the U.S. and Europe on Friday as investors worried about the faltering fortunes of emerging market countries across the globe. Jim Randall has more for VOA.
The U.S. Central Bank has cut back economic stimulus efforts, which will push some U.S. interest rates higher. The change prompted investors to move money from emerging markets to the United States in search of better returns, contributing to some stock and currency market turmoil. William Klein, a scholar at the Peterson Institute for International Economics, says the worst is probably over.
Markets tend to front load the adjustment because they're anticipating what's going to happen down the road. And much of the impact of higher U.S. interest rates, I think we've already seen.
Years of low U.S. interest rate policies encourage investors to put money in emerging markets where relatively higher interest rates gave them bigger returns. Jim Randall, VOA News, Washington.
Markets dropped today in New York, Frankfurt, Paris, and London in a broad stock sell-off. U.S. President Barack Obama says he believes the Russian city of Sochi, scheduled to host the upcoming Winter Olympic Games, is safe and Americans who want to go should continue with their plans. Mr. Obama spoke to CNN television on Friday to discuss the Olympics, which begin on February 7th, and his new plan to encourage major companies to hire more of the long-term unemployed in the United States. This is Joe Palca from the VOA News Center in Washington.
You see him
You're listening to Jeff Norton, the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. It's kind of Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Friday. January 31st. Wow. What incredible. Well, the first hour's over with. Let's see if we can make it through the second hour. Now, I'll tell you, I feel secure in the bunker. And it is a bunker here. This is a double-walled facility. It's just kind of crazy, you know. All this electronic stuff floating around. Who knows? Who knows, Thomas? You're probably right. It is the NSA. I'm glad they're listening. I really am. I'm happy for them. I'm glad to know that they are sitting on taxpayer dollars listening to the Midnight Patriot. I remember one time Bill Gates, they asked Bill Gates about China pirating his software. And you know what his response was, which was kind of shocking, considering Bill Gates was known to write a letter to the user group there in California when it first started, talking about whining. But Bill Gates, his response to the reporter who asked, well, what do you think about China pirating your software? He said, at least they're pirating my software. And that's kind of how I feel. At least they're listening to this show. At least I'm getting on their list. At least I'm getting under their skin. It's obvious that we pretty much pissed off Facebook. And if you think about it, they're $1 billion a year corporation. I'm a man with a microphone in a closet with a bunch of Patriot friends. Seriously. And we're getting under their curl. That's awesome. Out freaking standing. And we're going to keep it up. And we're only going to get better. It's still amateur hour around here. I tell people this all the time. We are still just a thought in our parents' eyes when it comes to what we're doing here at Patriot FB. We're just a thought. We haven't even got to conception yet. Our goal, kid you not, is to be the premier source for Patriot news and information. We will never sell out to corporate media. We will never sell out to the government. We will always present news in a truthful light. We will never censor. We will never speak over. We will allow you an opportunity to speak. That's what this show's all about. That's what Patriot FB is all about. Now, if you say something that's completely, off the wall, expect to get pummeled. But hey, that's what free speech is all about. You have the opportunity to say what you want to say. But I have the opportunity with free speech to counter you and say what I want to say. As long as it's not abusive in nature. I want to clarify that. There's no reason to be abusive in our conversation, in our speech. We can get our message across, and actually we get our message across so much more effectively and intelligently when we are knowledgeable, when we are courteous, and when we are professional. Right? I mean, one of the things that aggravate, I'll be the first one to tell you, I listened to Alex Jones. I attribute part of me getting off the couch, getting off my hit the dump button, getting off my butt and doing this show was, Alex Jones. I was awoken. I got turned on to him when I was listening to Coast. And then I started listening to the shows, and, as I was commuting back and forth to Chicago on the train, and I was like, wow, if this stuff is half true, this is crazy. And then, come to find out, most of it was true. But it turned for me, and I'm not, everybody has their own delivery method. Everybody has their own way of presenting the issues, and I understand that when you've been fighting the fight as long as he has, and you've been taking the attacks, taking those hits on the chin. I'm not in his shoes, so I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it wears you thin. I'm sure you get angry when you have mainstream media, call you names and slander you and, say things about you and not give you the opportunity to defend yourself. I get that. But one of the things is that we don't need to do is that, I saw that argument with him and Pierce Morgan. And like I said, I'm not one to judge Alex and what he did, but I didn't think it was effective. I think it was used because the media is going to turn it against you. Anything you say. It's coming, so don't give them the ammunition. But like I said, I'm not here criticizing. It's just that when I decided to do this, I'm going to be attacked. I know it. I know. It's coming. Bring it on. I ain't got nothing to hide. You ask me whatever you want to ask me, I'll tell you. I'm not a perfect person. I was told basically when I did this show, be a great testimony. Be a great testimony. And that's what I'm doing. But I know it's coming. I know you're going to attack me. I know you're going to, say things about it. If you want to know, just ask me. I ain't got nothing to hide. Nothing whatsoever. I'll tell you I'll be the first one to tell you. I'm an insider who's been awoken, who is now paying penance for my sins. Now, granted, I will tell you, I didn't do the deed and then ask for forgiveness. When I was asked to do the deed, I actually walked away to great financial harm to my family and well-being because I just couldn't do it. I couldn't live with myself. I just couldn't do it. And that's like most patriots are that way. Most patriots are soldiers. They were asked to do things, and because they're good soldiers, they do it. They're ordered, But then after the fact, they realize that it wasn't the right thing to do, and they pay penance for it. This is my penance. I would be doing this either way, though, because I thoroughly enjoy. I love talking. I love, communicating with you. I love the callers, calling in and having that conversation. I will tell you, I have a few close friends, people that know me, people that know what I've been through, people that know, friends, people that I can call, and they'll be there for me. Number one, Sandy, obviously. George, Craig, Eric, John. Bill. I know that. And I'll tell you, I've added to that list through this movement, through the Patriot, these are friends, I've added that list. Sue, Joe, Thomas, Dan, Scott, Mark, JJ, Mike, and these are good quality friends. These are people that I know that I can call and they will be there. That's what the Patriot, that's the relationship. That's what we need to be building on Patriot. When you go to Patriot FB and you're just posting memes and all that, you're really missing out on the opportunity that's given to you. And the opportunity is you need to be building long-lasting friendships. And what you do is you use Patriot FB to get the introduction, and then you follow that up with a face-to-face or a phone conversation, and you develop those friendships. And if you're not doing that, then you're not using Patriot FB to its fullest potential. Obviously, it's a news site. A lot of great news, a lot of great information. But you need to start using Patriot FB as a way of building your network, because we're going to need each other. We're going to, we're going to have a fallback plan when they execute this executive order. And they take over and they come to you and they tell you that you can't live in America as a free person if you don't go along with them. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to hide? That's sad if you think about it, the fact that we're even having this conversation. But that's the truth. And that's why it's important that you need to bring your friends and your Patriot friends to Patriot FB. It has nothing to do with the advertising or the money. We haven't monetized the site. Has nothing to do with that. If there are people that want to contribute and donate and do all that to help us, every dime that is donated or done through advertising goes right back into the system. It's not, we're not asking, we're not trying to monetize this. We're not going to take an IPO. We use the resources that you give us so that we can expand our networks and get the message out even more. So we can share with you the message of freedom and share with others. Wake them up. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. We'll be back in a minute.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I'm Eric Kipple, 10-year veteran of the NFL.
And I'm Captain Mark McNeil, 16-year veteran of the Army National Guard. Whether on the playing field or the battlefield, you must be both physically and mentally fit.
If you're injured, you owe it to yourself and your teammates to get back to peak performance. It doesn't matter if you've got a broken bone, depression, a traumatic brain injury, PTSD, or another psychological wound.
Getting help shows strength, not weakness.
To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call 866-966-1020.
All right. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. Get out to the web at patriotfb.com. If you haven't signed up with your new account, please do so. Please do so. Help support us. Help us get 4 million hits. I don't know if you guys saw the numbers today. We posted them up there. I think we had 3-point-something million hits and 2.9 million page views. That's incredible. That's incredible. The amount of, in this business. The fact that we've only been here 2 months. But get out there. Get plugged in. Love to have you. Love to get to meet you. Love to hear what you have to say. If you want to join in the conversation, give us a call, 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870 to join the conversation. You know, right before we went off the break, we were talking about the importance of friendship and the importance of hooking up with a group. And that's what Patriot FB is all about. It's a way for us patriots to communicate with each other freely, unabated. And we're doing everything possible to make sure that communication stays going. We're doing everything possible to make sure that it is secure. And I just want to tell everybody thank you for those that support us monetary, so we can pay for the service, and also the companies that provide services to us, that donate their time and energy and their knowledge. I'll tell you, our security company that manages our servers are just incredible. I was working with them all day today. And just unbelievable, the amount of brain power that's gone into Patriot FB to make it a secure site. Now, I'll tell you, we moved from one company to another. And it's just that, we've gotten to the point now to where our servers and the services that we're providing has got the ire of the government. So we need to bring in some heavy hitters. So we got some heavy hitters in the industry, especially in the security hacker sphere. And they're doing just a phenomenal job. Really, really happy with what they're doing. And they're constantly monitoring and constantly updating. Just today alone, they updated our firewalls 3 times. Part of the reason why we were, somewhat down and stuff was we were building in an automated process in which we can do that automatically. So that was really cool. So it looks like we got that resolved. Now we're moving that over to our second servers, backup servers, so we'll get that done. But you know what? You didn't come here to listen to us talk about housekeeping issues. You came here to talk about the news. So let's jump right into it. One of the things that, we were talking about, I want to talk about the TSA for here in a little bit, but I'm going to put that on the shelf. I'm going to tease you with that one, and we're going to put that one on the shelf. I want to get right down to a very disturbing news article that I pulled today off of the wire. And, remember Sarah Palin, death panels? Remember that, and the criticism and the heat and everything that she got for talking about death panels? Oh, you can't do death panels. There's no death panels. We're a loving, caring government. We're all nurturing and such. Well, guess what? There are death panels. And, of course, the Obama administration, this government's going to go, well, it wasn't us. It wasn't us that did it. It's these private corporations. We can't control what they do. Well, when you create an environment, Mr. President, let me kind of explain something to you. I've read the Agenda 21 book. I've read the documents that came out of the Brazil conference and Agenda 21, and I understand fully this whole private-public sector cooperation, how the government is going to use private companies to do its bidding. I get that. I mean, I saw it in defense contracting. I saw it in the security. You know, a lot of people, they talk about Snowden and how can he do that? Well, because the government hires companies who are not bound by the Constitution. There's no contract with the Constitution. With the Constitution, well, I'm finding out the Constitution, as we learned with Restoration of the Republic with Thomas and his show, there's no, well, there is a binding contract. It's just one way. But with corporations, there's no contract between the American people and corporations. So the government uses them. And they use these corporations to do things that the government legally can't do. Now, the government has finally realized they can just do it themselves now. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a shift where the government's just doing it themselves. And they're using, see, before it was private businesses. And now the government's sitting there. This is the craziness of our government. It's the brilliance. I will say this because Americans go, okay, we agree to that. So now what you're seeing is you're seeing a shift. You're seeing the government say, yeah, well, you know, this information is really private and we agree with you, so we're just going to do it. We're not going to use the Dells of the world, and we're not going to use the Honeywells and all of those companies. We'll just do it ourselves. That's what they're doing. That's what you're seeing. But going back to my earlier comment about Obamacare, death panels. There are children now being denied through the insurance company. Yeah, there you go. Call it what you want. It's, you know, sick kids denied specialty care due to Obamacare in Washington. Administrators in the Seattle Children's today said that they predicted this would happen, and it's even worse than they expected, says a local news anchor. Patients are being denied specialty treatments at the hospitals by insurance providers on the Washington Health Benefits Exchange. Children's filed requests on behalf of 125 of their patients, of who they say they only got 20 responses, 8 of which were denials. So there you go. What happened to this system of can't be denied pre-existing condition? You know, what they're doing is now the insurance companies are now coming back to keep costs down. Treatments that were once available are no longer available. Death panels. Death panels. We warned you. We told you this was coming. And, of course, the administration is going to go, well, we can't control what the insurance company... Well, absolutely you can control, because you created an environment in which we have nowhere else to turn. You know, at least when we had insurance companies, you can pick and choose. And I know what you're saying. You can pick and choose. No, all these plans are the same, and all of them are operating by the same rules. So when one insurance company denies you and you go to the other insurance company, they're going to deny you as well, because there's a precedent that's been set. They know that they can now. See how that works? Death panels. Death panels. You know, instead of this administration going out and creating an environment in which you could have true competition, and whenever you have true competition, you lower cost. No, what they did is that they made an oligarchy. They firmed it up. You can only get insurance in your state through your state exchanges, through insurance companies that are certified by your state. The problem with that is that in the great state of Wisconsin, right here, the insurance companies are listed are companies that no one knows about. Doctors aren't listed. They're finding out that they're doctors. They ain't even listed in these programs. These aren't mainstream insurance companies. It's crazy. And now we find out that they want to regulate pizza.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I see the cold mist in the night and watch the hills roll out of sight. I watch in every single way, inside out, outside in, every day. The sun can warm the coldest dawn and move the movement on the lawn. I learn in every single day, inside out, outside in,
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I was sitting there reading. I'll be the first one to tell you. I was reading this next hour right before I went off the break. Right before I went off the break, I was talking about pizza. Now, you guys, Jeff, what does pizza have to do with Obamacare? Well, here you go. One major problem with Obamacare is that President failed to mention in the State of the Union address is pending regulation that could make food more costly. There you go. The law section 4205, go look it up, requires restaurants with 20 or more locations to list calorie contents information for each menu item on the board at every establishment. See, Obamacare, I thought it was about insurance. No, really? Now they're going to make restaurants post their look, come on. The nanny state at its finest. When I go eat a pizza, I know it's not good for me. But of course I need the government to tell me that. When I go to McDonald's, I know that's not good for me either. But I need the government to tell me that. When it's just insane. That is what we have become in this country because we've become a nanny state. Government's now going to be telling us that we need to, can't be driving. You can only drive every other day. It's coming. And I know a lot of you guys out there go, oh, you know, conspiracy theory. I know most of you go, yeah, we believe you, Jeff. But those ones on the fence are, you know, oh, no, that would never happen. Wake up, America. It is happening. We are seeing it firsthand. You know, you don't have to go that far in the history books to see where this leads or where this is led. Remember the TSA? Let's talk about that for a minute. Remember the TSA? Well, we're here to keep airline. Remember the TSA was there to keep your airline safe? Remember that? Now you see TSA agents on buses. You see them on trains. You see them on the interstate highways. You see them everywhere. Everywhere. And a lot of you don't realize, but the cost of that has been trickled down to you and I. Not only the inconvenience of, but the cost. The cost of that. You know, you think shipping companies, truck drivers are going to go through these checkpoints and that doesn't cost something? You think they just pull it out of their pocket and just, oh yeah, we're getting, no. Everything has a cost. A tangible cost. And, you know, there's an insequential cost too, and that's the fact that loss of your freedoms. You know, I was told, I go to the library now. I can't buy every book. Can't afford it. I'm on a budget. So I go to the library. And before I get CDs for the radio show. Now, I'll tell you, for the NSA, you guys out there listening, come and audit, you know, CSAC, all you guys, ASCAP, BMI, come and audit. Every song that we play, we have the CD for. But before I go out and get the CDs, I will listen to them on get them from the library. Well, I was doing that, and of course the librarian said, you know, she told me, she wasn't threatening me or anything, she was just telling me, she goes, you know, the government can request those. They can see what books you check out, they can see what CDs you get. Yeah. The government. Now, you tell me, how does that have anything to do with fighting or combating terrorism? How does it? No, it's all about commerce. You know, the government's going to see it, and part of it, like I said, they're going to come after us. That's why we make sure we have everything in order, that we have all of our music cataloged. We have all the CDs cataloged from which the music came from. Because it's only a matter of time. They're going to send their goons or minions through ASCAP, BMI, and the Record Association to try to shut us down that way. But you know what? We're smarter than that. That's what this government's become. So the ever-intrusive government is now going to be telling your restaurants through Obamacare that they have to print the caloric intake. You know, and I know a lot of you out there, well, you know, we're all in this pool together. Well, guess what? I don't want to be in the pool with you. No offense. But that's the argument they're going to give. We're all in this pool together. Jeff, you need to lose some weight because it's not fair. You know, if I want to shove a Big Mac down my pie hole, I should be allowed to shove a Big Mac down my pie hole. Who are they to tell me? But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show podcast. When we get back, I want to talk about
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
Let the good times roll. Let them rock you around. Let the good times roll. Let them make you a clown. Let them leave you up in the air. Let them brush you rock and roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times Let the stories be told. Let them say what they want. Let the photos be old. Let them show what they want. Let them leave you up in the air. Let them brush you rock and roll. Let the good times roll. Let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll. From the Cars. Good times roll. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. I was rudely interrupted by this machine. Doesn't it know that that is not a good way to treat someone? But no, right before I took the break, it just cut me off. It said, "Oh, you're done. Get out of there." And once again, I come back and it was working fine. And now it's we got one channel. We got one channel. We're back. Now I'm in stereo. Oh Lord, as Mama T would say. Oh Lordy, Lordy. No, but going back, I want to talk about not only our the rest of America getting screwed, but we're finding out now that women's centers are being shut down. Oh my gosh, I'm sure there's going to be an executive bill. It's coming. Got to keep those abortion clinics open. There's going to be an executive bill of protection, another executive order. Got to kill those babies. Got to kill those black and yellow babies. And I say that, as disgusting as that statement is, I just want to let you know, the mother of Planned Parenthood, those were her words. See, as people sit there and they talk about Planned Parenthood and they, do that, I just want to let you know that Planned Parenthood was not designed as a women's clinic or whatever. It was designed to eliminate the undesirables. How disgusting is that? And of course, Miss Silverman, that wretched human being, comedian. I don't know. She's disgusting. I watched her, Sarah Silverman. Yeah, she's going to get an award because of her efforts to support Planned Parenthood and abortions in the state of Texas. How disgusting is that? How vile. I mean, you go out there. I'm not going to tell you because it's just vile. She is a nasty, horrible woman. Go out there, the things that she was doing to raise money to help support this abortions in the state of Texas. Go out there and dig, look it up. Look at what she was selling, auctioning off. That is disgusting. It's just, ugh. But of course, there are some women's clinics now being shut down because of Obamacare funding, lack of. But of course, I am sure that there's going to be executive order signed. There's going to be a bypass of Congress. Oh, the women. There's going to be a bypass of Congress. An end run. An illegal action by this president. But hey, we're all asleep. We're all getting ready for the Super Bowl. And right before I went off the break, I was going to talk about TSA, and we touched on it. I just want to follow this up. I know America, they're talking about the Super Bowl this weekend, right? Can't go anywhere in America about it. The great brain drain. The great complacent media. They know. Think about this. Why are advertisers paying so much money to be on the Super Bowl? $4 million for 30 seconds. $4 million for 30 seconds. And that's actually lower than what it's been in the past. Why is that? Because they know you are going to be glued. Your mind is going to be open. They can program you. They're going to program you. They are going to reach in through your mind, and they are going to place little seeds of information, and they are going to program you. Watch. That's what advertising's all about. They're going to, have the cuddly animals and But as you guys are watching the advertisements, look at the subliminal messages. Try to find them. They're there. They're there. And I'm sure there's going to be some blatant messages. So as we numb ourselves and dumb ourselves down on Sunday, take the time, a little bit of time, and kind of watch the subliminals. Now, of course, the thing that I get about the Super Bowl is the security. You now have, and they said, look, expect to have airport-like security at the Super Bowl. Your bag's got to be see-through. You're going to have to go through magnetometers. You're going to have to do all that. They're going to have snipers positioned, Black Hawk helicopters. They're going to have the F-16 jets circling. They're going to have all sorts of terrorist countermeasures everywhere. And most of you say, well, they're just trying to keep us safe. Really? Trying to keep us safe? No. It's an exercise. I'm a firm believer in it. They're practicing. They're taking this opportunity to practice. Yeah. We'll see. There's always going to be a knucklehead out there. Always. And one of the things that security experts will always tell you is that a person who's willing to pay the ultimate price is not a person that you can protect society from. See, in the past, and that's the problem with suicide bombers and everything like that, especially that's what keeps security experts up at night. Because typically most people would do an act of violence but with the intention of self-preservation, right? Why don't you run through a red light at night? Think about it. No one around. Why don't you do it? A lot of you say, well, that's because of the law. No, it's not because of the law. You speed, don't you? That's posted. Says 55. You go 60, 65, 70. No, it's about self-preservation. You're concerned about, if I do go through this red light, and what happens if there's a car coming the other way? Even when you ever catch yourself doing that? There's a car coming the other way or not coming the other way, and you're sitting there at a red light and you're kind of looking and you've been, light's broken, but you're still hesitant to go out there because it's self-preservation. Why do you stop at a four-way stop? Self-preservation. So a terrorist who's willing to pay the ultimate price, this government, this administration cannot protect themselves from that. They can't protect you from that. It is an exercise. It is a feeble exercise. But yet, Super Bowl Sunday and the security is a test to see how much intrusiveness you will allow into your life. So all you guys that are going to, New Jersey, have a good time, enjoy yourself. Get patted down. Go through the magnetometers. Thank God they're not doing the full body scans so they can sit and laugh at you. Oh yeah, TSA employees in Chicago O'Hare admitted they did see your naked body, and yes, they did laugh at you. Made fun of you. That came out in the news today as well. When we get back, we're going to be talking about State Department hosting a party for a rapper, a racist.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at mountainviewoffgridliving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. Join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. Or on the web 24/7 at www.patriotfb.com. That is patriotfb.com. Like I said, right before we went off the break, the State Department, don't know if you guys know this, State Department's having a webcast. There you go. Webcast features guests who called Clarence Thomas and Condoleezza Rice Uncle Toms. Now, regardless of your political, let's remove the political part of this from the equation. If I was I am a newscaster, syndicated, and I called an individual an Uncle Tom, and I'm not, in a derogatory manner. Is that appropriate speech? But of course, because he's black, it's okay to do that. And because, he's attacking conservatives, it's okay. One of the things I want to newsflash, I just want to do a newsflash for everybody out there. President Barack Obama is an elitist. He is. He can't associate. He doesn't associate with his heritage anymore than that. As a friend once told me, I can be Chinese. He doesn't. Now he walks around and he acts like, but think about how he acts under this president. The African American community has taken a hit, more so than any other president in the past. More so. Unemployment amongst the young is up in 30-40%. Crime is up. This president rode the backs of the African American community and right into the White House, and as he got off your backs, he slammed the doors on you, and he shooed you away. He did. It's the truth. It's the truth. And so, for you to sit there and say, well, it's amazing. This president has no loyalty to anybody, let alone his own community. What even makes it worse is I have probably more loyalty to the African American community than he does. And let me explain that to you. I don't believe in economic slavery. I don't believe that we should continually hold people back by keeping them dumb. I believe that the true nature of man comes out when men are allowed to participate in life. But when you're constantly giving individuals and groups of individuals a handout and you're not allowing them to fend for themselves and to have some self-worth about themselves, and you keep them in economic slavery, you keep on giving them that meaningful job. You're not giving them an income in which they can live off of. You're giving them just enough so they can, get by. Always wanting more. I'm not for that. I want every American to participate in this great, great nation of ours. Every American. Regardless of your race, color, creed, or orientation.
From Washington, this is VOA News. Syria talks to continue after difficult first round. Ukraine's president signs protest amnesty bill while the military wants the situation stabilized. I'm Bill Michaels reporting from Washington. Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych has signed into law a bill on amnesty for anti-government protesters. The 63-year-old president Friday signed the legislation that grants amnesty to those detained during anti-government protest on condition they leave government buildings they've occupied. Opposition leaders have rejected the measure, which the president acted on after announcing a day earlier that he had gone on sick leave for an acute respiratory infection and fever. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry issued a statement quoting military officials as calling on President Yanukovych to take immediate measures to stabilize the situation in the country. You can follow this developing story at voanews.com. Syria negotiators are expected to meet again probably in 10 days or so after a week of talks in Geneva that the mediator says did not make any progress to speak of, but did lay the foundation for future negotiations. Still, the government has not confirmed that it will attend. VOA's Al Pessin reports from London.
The United Nations and Arab League mediator Lakhdar Brahimi presented 10 points he believes the two sides agree on, but he acknowledged the list did not amount to much, mainly consisting of general statements about the need to negotiate a solution, ease the suffering of the Syrian people, and build a country with respect for democracy and human rights.
Progress is very slow indeed, but the sides have engaged in an acceptable manner.
The two sides could not even reach agreement on humanitarian issues, but Brahimi said that during 8 days of difficult meetings, the government and opposition delegations got used to sitting in the same room, something it was not initially clear whether they would do at all. Al Pessin, VOA News, London.
The International Committee of the Red Cross says at least 30 people have been killed in the Central African Republic's capital over the last 3 days. The relief organization says it recovered the bodies from the streets of Bangui. It also says at least 60 people have been injured in an unprecedented level of violence. The CAR sunk into chaos and inter-religious violence after rebels overthrew the president last March. The UN Humanitarian Agency reported Thursday that about 10 people are killed each day in Bangui in looting, shootings, and targeted attacks. It also noted a growing number of attacks on the city's Muslim community. They are touted as the new Russia's $50 billion coming out party, the triumphal moment for Vladimir Putin's presidency. But could terrorists spoil the Sochi Winter Olympics? James Brooke filed this report from Moscow.
A deadly bombing of a train station in southern Russia last month is the kind of nightmare that Russian authorities want to avoid in Sochi, the southern Russian city where the Winter Olympics open on February 7. 2 weeks ago, 2 men from a jihadist group in Russia's Dagestan claimed they carried out the bombing that killed 18. This week, the Olympic torch rally peacefully made its way through Dagestan and across the conflict-torn Caucasus. President Putin says he is protecting Sochi with a ring of steel. He says, if we show weakness or fear, we are helping terrorists achieve their goals. Russia's deploying 60,000 police and soldiers, 26 for each athlete. James Brooke, Moscow.
A new report by the State Department has raised no major environmental objections to a proposed oil pipeline from Canada to the southern coast of the United States. The report, at least Friday, stopped short of recommending whether the Keystone Pipeline should be built. With 11 volumes of analysis, the State Department's final report on the pipeline reaches the same conclusion as its draft report did last March, that the project is not likely to affect the pace of development in Canada's oil sands. The report moves the Obama administration closer to making a final decision on whether to approve the program after more than 5 years of deliberation. For more on these stories and a complete look at today's news, visit our website, voanews.com. Reporting from Washington, I'm Bill Michaels, VOA News.
You are listening to PatriotFB.com.
If that's what it takes me, baby, to show how much you mean to me. And I guess it's just the woman in you that brings out the man in me. I know I can't help myself. You're all in the world to me.
You're listening to the Jeff Northern Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host. Join me here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. It doesn't feel like the first time. I've been around this rodeo a few times. Yeah, I was out there during the break looking at PatriotFB.com. Yep, there you go. So there's always a first. There's always a first. Someone posted about double your income in property sales. Okay. Look, we don't believe in censorship. So keeping with the premise of that we don't believe in censorship, I do have to ask, though, what does that have to do? How does that forward the conversation in patriotism in this movement that we have? Look, I'm just going to tell you, take your sales pitches and go somewhere else. There's another site, another very great social media site that's good for that. An excellent site for that. And for those that are listening, I ask that you guys go out to Patriot FB, because the only way that we're going to keep these types of conversations from infiltrating our site is that you guys also need to be vocal. You need to help police it. And you need to let people know that this is not a conversation. They can go to Facebook for this, or they can go wherever. They can go somewhere else to post it. There's plenty of other sites for them to post this type of stuff on. So when you're out at PatriotFB.com, let them know. Respond to those types of help me kind of police the site. Help me, help me not be the bad guy. Because when I see that, and like I said, and I knew that there's always going to be someone who's going to test it. There always is. There's always an individual out there who's got to test it. And as we grow this site, there's always going to be one. And of course, the first time I block or I say, hey, look, and I remove that post, they're going to, censorship, he's censoring us. No, we don't censor for patriotic conversations that move the conversations forward, or the communication forward. But I'm not going to allow you to turn this site into a sales and marketing tool for your quick rich schemes or whatever. I'm not going to do that. So I ask that those that are out there listening, please jump on there. Let the individual know that this is not the place. There are plenty of other places they can go to post, quick get rich quick schemes. And I'm not saying that, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's concerned about us, needing a second income, make some more money so we pay our bills. I don't know. So we maybe buy our storable food there from Mountain View Off-Grid Living. I don't know. But, get out there. Help me kind of monitor our site. It is our site. And I kind of question this. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research. And what I'm talking about is live. I'm going to have to do a little bit more investigation on this. Because as I sit here and I look at this post, as I am reading this post from this individual, I kind of question, is he actually who he says he is? And let me tell you why. Because I'm going in here. We're gonna find this out. You guys are gonna see a little bit of our investigation prowess here as we do a little bit more investigation on this individual. You know, one of the things I will tell you, if you come to this site, if you come to patriotfb.com and your intentions are to be a troll and so I'm going to blast you. We're going to blast you. So don't do it. You know, don't think that you're going to get away with it. And let me tell you why. It's not going to work. Because we have an obligation to protect the content, the information on this site from individuals such as yourself. And I am now looking, and if I find out that you've been dishonest with us by not telling us truly who you are, that is grounds for you not to be part of the system. There you go. So, our trusty little site, Project Honeypot. Project Honeypot, his IP address is 198.143.144.6. This is how we roll. This is how we come down on you like a ton of bricks. Project Honeypot system has detected behavior from this IP address consistent with that of a constant or a comment spammer. Below, we've reported some of the other data associated with this IP. This unrelated data helps map spammers, networks, and others. So there you go. So this is an individual who is a spammer. So, being that said, and let me kind of clue you guys in what kind of ticked me off with this guy. So this guy's gone. Because, you know, we don't believe in censorship. We don't. But when you come to us with false pretenses and you come to us lying and you come to us with your schemes and scams, you're not being honest with us. This site is for patriots. This site is for fellow Americans, fellow patriots. So with that being said, buddy, you are officially delisted. From our site. Take your spam, your content spam, and go somewhere else. We don't need you. You don't better the conversation. You don't move it forward. So, let me write that down. This is what I deal with on a daily basis, my friends. You just saw it live here. I can't believe it. You know, there's always... That's the trouble when you grow a site such as we have, that you're always going to have trolls. You're always going to have people. And like I said, you know, if you're having technical issues or whatever, you know, reach out to me. I'll call you back. Give you my number. You can talk to me directly. But this is the type of behavior that I will not put up with. The fight is too important to be dealing with this type of crap. So we Apologize you guys had to hear that. But, that's life in the big city. That's what we have to do to, and that's what we're doing constantly. Every day we do this with, every day. So you guys just got an insight of what my day looks like. Trying to keep this site pure and trying to keep it on focus. So getting back with the conversation as we roll into the break, and we're in the third and final hour here. I want to talk a little bit, we talked about this yesterday about Google, tops NSAs, leaky apps. Now, you got to ask yourself, why is the NSA putting this information out? How do they know that Google is a leaky app? Well, because they were part of the development of it. We already know that the NSA has reached out to several technology companies and put backdoors and put certain things. So as you download that Angry Birds game or whatever game you're going to do, be mindful. You're putting a portal right onto your computer, right onto your phone. Everybody talks about security and you're concerned about it. And we even talk about it here on the show. If you are downloading and putting apps on your phone, you are making it insecure. You need to read the agreements. You need to read the agreements. You would be astonished at what you do. When we get back, we're going to talk about the executive privilege fight that may be in the Breitbart case. We'll talk about that. We got more news to cover, and then we'll wrap up the evening.
Advertise to thousands of fellow patriots with Patriot FB Radio. Email advertise@patriotfb.com for more details. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331.
I had PTSD. Once I was back from Iraq, I was distant from everybody in my family. We had a reunion of our unit, and you'd hear these spouses say, "Is your husband doing that? My husband's doing that too. I thought it was just us." And really understanding that, hey, this is a common experience.
I learned more to listen to what he was saying, and that made it easier for me to understand where his pain was coming from.
Warriors should know that resources are available. Learn more at realwarriors.net.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. Man, as we roll into the evening, what a night. It's been kind of crazy. Full moon. I know that we're supposed to be hit with 7 inches of snow tonight. So much for global warming. Oh, the bears, the polar bears. Here, the prince, who's a known eugenist, who believes that the population ought to be thinned out. Who had his wife killed. Oh, no. Didn't say that, did I? That's speculation, I have to say. It's in my opinion that Princess Diana was killed. But, as a prince, that mouse of a man, he really is. You ever look at him? Snap him in two. But, as he criticizes us for denouncing global warming, I actually listened to the JJ show this afternoon, and he had a weatherman on talking about, that one volcano puts enough CO2 in the atmosphere than we've ever done. Got to outlaw volcanoes right now. We got to outlaw those volcanoes. This thing called the sun also has effect. Now, granted, we shouldn't pollute. I'm a firm believer that we should do everything possible to take care of the land. But the problem is the government, once again, they're not trying to take care of the land. They're not. And you know how I know this? You know how I can say with confidence I know that our government, our administration can give a hoot's butt about, the land? This whole notion about carbon tax, that was, it's another way of extracting money from corporations and paying taxes. It's all part of the Agenda 21. Go back, and I keep references. If you want to be an informed patriot, you have to read the Agenda 21 documents. You can go out there, you can download them for free. Google it, get the documents, read them. There's also some great books out there that you can also read that will kind of break it down, because it is in some legalese. Some of it's pretty straightforward, though. But there are some documents, and you go out there and read them. Go out there and read these docs. And it will all become clear. And this is a plan that was put in place in the 80s. And it's coming to fruition. This is everything that they talked about is happening. That's why we're seeing this. Obamacare, by the way, I just want to let you know that the plan was in 2014 that we would have a unified healthcare system in the United States. That was the plan. They laid it out, and they even gave it a date, the year 2014. So this is no news to us who are informed. But we talk about global warming. Global warming, we have to take care of our Earth. There's nowhere else we can go. Our children, we can't, there's nowhere else they can go. We know that. But the problem is this government is not concerned about true economic catastrophes. And let me tell you why. I'll just give you one word. Fukushima. Where's the rally behind that? The poor polar bears they're running out of ice. See that commercial? You remember that commercial with the polar bear coming out and coming and hugging the tree hugger, for driving the hybrid instead of, the real commercial is he would have slaughtered him, ate the guy, and wreaked havoc on the community until he was shot. That's what polar bears do. No news there, but of course, the cuddly polar bear gives the guy a hug. The polar bear. All right, so where's the polar bear when 20 to 30% of the polar bear has skin lesions, losing their hair because of the radiation poisoning? Where's the outcry there? Where's the Coca-Cola commercial there? Or the hybrid commercial? This government, and I say this world government, at this point, let's put it in context, can care less about the environment. China, you can't, there are parts in China that you can't fly a plane through. And it's not because of they can't see, they have radar, because the engines will get clogged up. There's that much pollution. Oh, but, this government, this world government, they don't care about pollution. It's all about extracting money from corporations and i.e. individuals, because you think the corporations are going to, once again, like the truckers, you think they're going to pull out their wallets and pay the bill? No, they're going to pass that on to you and I. And of course, they're going to make us feel guilty for this. When in turn, they are the world, polluters. Governments destroy the ecology more than any individual ever will. Ever will. Go to Iran and look at their depleted uranium. Birth defects up 300%. All of this uranium that they didn't know that, typically they didn't have storage for. I mean, let me kind of explain this to you. They couldn't store it because they ran out of space in Oak Ridge, and the facility out in Utah wasn't completed yet, the underground storage facility. Oh, that, by the way, that Al Gore lobbied for. I just want to let you know that. So someone decided, well, you know what we'll do? We'll take this depleted uranium and we'll weaponize it. And then we'll we'll put it on we'll propel it and let our enemies deal with it. Yeah. There you go. That's a good use for it. That's why I can sit here, in good conscience and tell you this, that our government can care, they care less about you and I. They care less about the economy. They care less about the environment. No, because when the economy explodes, that just allows them to come in and swoop it up and take control of your lives even more. So they have a plan. They're going to be sitting in their bunkers. They're going to be sitting in their, security surrounded, military surrounded, hardened facilities. You and I are the ones that are going to be left to want. So they don't care about the economy. They can care less. They want it to implode. So when these politicians, the reason why the president didn't talk about jobs and didn't talk about the deficit and stuff, he don't care. It's part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. It's all by design. It's all by design. They don't care about the environment. Because if they cared about the environment, every mind, every resource, everything possible would be sitting over in Japan right now trying to get that disaster under control. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show.
Join us at www.patriotfb.com, a social network for patriots. For all your prepping needs, visit our friends at MountainViewOffGridLiving.com or call 208-615-6331. 208-615-6331. Get involved. Get involved. Support Stone Anthony for President. www.stoneanthony2016.com. Put a real American in the White House.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I am your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me here live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Sit right here in Command Central, patriotfb.com. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com as we wind down and get ready to shovel ourselves out tomorrow, 7 inches of snow. I do want to kind of wrap up the show with this little commentary. You know, talk about the lawlessness of the of this administration. I don't know. You know, Andrew Breitbart, as we all know, you know, huge, dedicated American patriot, trying to get the word out, the truth out, challenge this administration, challenge this government, expose them for what they are. Remember, you know, they're on multiple levels, obviously, with Acorn and everything else. But remember the racial slurs that were made towards members of Congress, and of course, Andrew exposed that there were none whatsoever. They created it. You know, they created it. He even offered, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And of course, you know, with his passing, mysteriously, you will never find a more dedicated patriot who, in most cases, was very critical of the movement itself and was critical of people that call themselves patriots but didn't get involved, that sat around, you know, and, you know, oh, I'm a patriot, but they get off their asses and do anything, you know. But there was one of the famous cases, too, where he exposed the agricultural department employee, Sherry Sherrod's, you know, comments about helping a white farmer. Remember that? Bring you back to that history. Well, of course, now she is suing the estate of Breitbart. In a letter filed Thursday, U.S. District Court in Washington, a lawyer involved in the case said the Justice Department has advised that it will assert executive privilege to block disclosures of information subpoenaed in the case from USDA and the White House. In other words, she is suing the estate of Andrew Breitbart. Well, the attorneys to mount a defense have required certain documents in a lawsuit to either prove, obviously to prove their side or their side of the story. Well, of course, the Justice Department now has interjected itself because, like I said, they've gotten away with it before. It's all about precedent. If you can assert executive privilege on such a heinous crime as the killing of Border Patrol agents, and you can assert executive privilege on a crime of gun running, and that's exactly what it is. It's gun running. And no one challenges them, and they get away with it, and no one goes to jail over it. Of course they're going to assert executive privilege on a legal case that sheds light on their true nature, how they truly feel about us Americans. See, we're cattle to them. We're sheeple. Sit down and take your medicine, boy. That's what they are. That's how we are. So of course, if they can assert executive privilege on cases that have far-reaching criminality, you can only expect it to have, for them to do it in civil cases. See, this is an administration that's been lying to us from day one. From day one. Now they've interjected themselves into a civil case, and they're not going to allow the civil case against Andrew to go forward in his estate, but they're not going to allow the evidence to be, the true evidence, to be shared and shown to the court or to the jury. Now, I wonder how that's going to, wonder how the judge feels. We'll see. Now, remember, she brought suit against Andrew's estate. And if the opposing counsel can't mount a credible, that is one of the tenets. Well, we're finding out. There's a lot of things about the Constitution that we didn't know. If you listen to Restore the Republic here, every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, you'll find out that a lot of the judicial is bunk. A lot of the rights that we thought we had is bunk. They don't exist. They are in the wind, as they would say. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm still trying to figure out how they can claim executive privilege. This is a civil case. What national security information are they trying to protect? But once again, when you allow a government to get away with it to begin with, who's they're going to stretch it every time. You set this thing called precedent. When you set precedent, they do it all the time. They get away with it all the time. One thing that we can't let this government get away with, and that is this is a fight that I fight every night, every day. That is the abuse of our men and women, the service members, the men and women who put on this nation's uniform and live up to their obligations. I still find it disgusting, the fact that this president would roll out a wounded combat veteran. It's not surprising. I just find it offensive. As in the same breath that they're talking about and they're dismantling one of the proudest military history in modern time. There's only one other military organization that, that was the Roman Empire. But as they dismantle it through their, kindler, gentler, don't ask, don't tell, women in combat, all of those things. As they push officers out, as they relieve knowledgeable flag officers of their duty because they refuse to attack Americans on American soil. That's right, I said it. Talking about the October incident of nuclear warheads being detonated off of the coast of the Carolinas. Don't take my word for it. Go out there and read the seismographs. Read the history where Putin was furious because basically it violated a test ban. Putin wasn't upset with, what they were doing. He was upset with the fact that it violated a test ban treaty. You're never going to hear about that in mainstream news. The fact that the officer, the Air Force officer that was in the investigation with several thousand hours of combat flying and everything, his little airplane just mysteriously crashes, killing him. And of course, the investigation is no more. But getting back to the treatment of the American soldier in the United States, it is appalling. We have 22 soldiers who commit suicide every day in the United States. 22. We have a soldier has to wait anywhere, on average, 354 days before they receive the services that they have earned and they are deserved. That our retired soldiers who have committed their life to this country and service in this country are getting their benefits cut retroactively at a rate of 20%. This administration is no friend of the American soldier. They can roll out a combat injured veteran and applaud him and do all that, but the reality of it is this administration is no friend to the American soldier. What does this administration do to honor the men and women who have served? What does this nation do? What does this mainstream media do? You don't hear about their names. You don't hear about daily memorials. You don't hear about the sacrifices of these men and women unless it's on a campaign or political stump. Well, that's not the case here at the Midnight Patriot. We will always, as long as there are men and women who put their lives on the line, we will always honor those. When you see a soldier, go up to them, look them square in the eye, shake their hands, and say thank you. If it's possible, buy them lunch, buy them dinner. Let them know that you care about them, because I'll tell you, soldiers, it's a hard job. Very little pay. But they do it every day. They put on those boots, they hit the ground, and they do it every day. Let them know that they are always in our hearts and prayers. Let them know that here at the Midnight Patriot, we will never forget those who have paid the ultimate price and sacrifice for their service to this country.
Somebody, sister or brother, a father, son, daughter or mother, come on. They are the soldiers.
Army Chief Warrant Officer 2nd Edward Bobby, January 20th, 2014. Army Specialist Andrew H. Sipple, January 11th, 2014. Army Sergeant Daniel T. Lee, January 15th, 2014. Army Chief Warrant Officer Andrew L. McAdams, January 10th, 2014. Army Sergeant Drew M. Scobie, January 20th, 2014. Army Sergeant First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. and Marine Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014.
So just for 1 second, put yourself in their boots. Turn your back on everything you know right now. With the whole world to lose, you got no dinner with the family. You got no home, no luxury car. Just a welcome to the battlefield, 'cause it's time to go to war. Because they do it for me and they do it for you. In the red, white, and blue. Amen to the ones on the battlefield. Amen to those who fall. Amen to the women and the children getting caught between it all. They said they fight and died for our freedom. No one had to ask them to go without a moment's hesitation. For the red, white, and blue. The red, white, and blue. The red, white, and you. The red, white, and amen to the ones on the battlefield. Amen to those who fall. Amen to the women and the children getting caught between it all. They said they died and died for our freedom. No one had to ask them to go without a moment's hesitation. For the red, white, and blue. Amen to the ones on the battlefield. Amen to those who fall. Amen to the women and the children getting caught between it all. They said they fight and died for our freedom. No one had to ask them to go without a moment's hesitation. For the red, white, and blue. Somebody's sister or brother, a mother, daughter, father, or
That's Madison Rising, MadisonRising.com. Get out to their website. Help support them and their efforts. I mean, great music. We would play them as our bumper music, but I feel bad about cutting them out because it's great American music. I don't care about the other stuff. Cut it, step all over that all night long. I'm not going to disrespect Madison Rising. Get out to their website at MadisonRising.com. As we wind down the evening, sorry about that, but as we wind down the evening, this board's got to go. We'll find an alternative. We'll have to do something this over the weekend. Take a look at it, find out what's going on. But as we wind down the evening, I just want to tell everybody thank you. It's been a great week. It's been a great month. It's been a great year. We've had some good times. Today was another great day at the Midnight Patriot and also at the Patriot FB. We want to welcome Thomas aboard with Resurrect the Republic radio show. You can join him right here at Patriot FB every Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. till 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And also, some of our other broadcasters, hopefully Mike will be back with AVN next week. I have to talk to him over the weekend, see how he's doing. He's been a little bit under the weather and everything, so hopefully he'll be back. You can join him from 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. JJ, my good friend JJ McCarty, join him from 2 to 4. All times are Central, of course, with us. Now, this weekend, I do have the programming. I have all of the sound files, and we're going to be doing it over the weekend. I'll post it out there at Patriot FB. But we have old-time radio shows. We're talking Jack Benny. We're talking, the Lone Ranger, the Hornet. All the old-time classic radio shows. I'm a little young to remember those days, or little Orphan Annie, but some of our listeners out there, I'm sure, will appreciate it. And we found the archives, and we have them, and we have the we have the permission to do it. So we're going to be doing that. Of course, there's some Digital Millennium Act stuff that we have to adhere to. So we can't play more than 2 episodes in a 2-hour period. So what we'll do is we'll space them out, and between the music and everything, we'll post that up there at Patriot FB once we get it laid out. But I can't wait. I was listening to some of the stuff. It's amazing, the radio and back in the day. I can honestly tell you, as much as I love the modern conveniences of today and everything, I would have just thrived in the day. I mean, the radio, can you imagine sitting, let me paint this picture for you before we roll on out of here. Can you imagine being a young man or a young woman growing up, little Ralphie, all I want for Christmas is my Red Ryder BB gun. Growing up in the day, coming home when they used to do the Pledge of Allegiance and it actually meant something, when you are proud to be an American, when you are proud to live in this country. And your dad went to work and your mom stayed home and took care of the family and she actually ran the house. Remember those days, those days long gone. And coming home and having a meal and sitting down with your family and around the dinner table. And then doing your homework. And if everything was right in the world, you would turn on your radio and you would dial in your WLS in Chicago. And then all of a sudden, Little Orphan Annie or The Lone Ranger. I want to take you back to those days. And just think about the nostalgia of listening, sitting there on the floor as your dad smoked his pipe and your mom knitted or did whatever, mended your clothes because you were out playing football with the neighborhood kids. Imagine that, what it would be like to sit there and spend that time, that precious time with your family. And then as your radio came alive and crackled, you would hear the show that you've anticipated all day long, talked about with your buddies.
A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger.
Days gone by. That was the Lone Ranger, and we're going to be playing that over the weekend. We got the Lone Ranger, we got Little Orphan Annie, Jack Benny, we have the CBS Mystery Theater. Incredible radio when Thomas, I agree with you, when time was pure. When times were pure. To be part of that era, to grow up in that. It's just amazing. And I know some of you guys can relate to that. And that's what it's all about. That's what we are fighting for. That's what we are fighting for. To go back to that time. And it wasn't long ago. Of course, we had trials and tribulations back then as well. But that was when men were men. You know, when there were some politicians who actually cared about the people that they served. And it was not designed to be a moneymaker or a step up, where people actually truly cared about serving others. So as we wrap up the weekend, I just want to let everybody know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a wonderful, wonderful month, year. Over 3 million hits, 2.9 million page views. That is incredible for a site which is just getting off the ground. You know, got to take the fight to them, though. We can't let up. We can't rest on our laurels. We have to take the fight to them. So over the weekends, I just want to say, you know, take the time, spend with your families, in your community. Spend some good quality time. Sit around the dinner table. You don't need old-time radio to do that. You can do that right now. If you get a chance, get out there and listen to patriotfbradio.com, patriotfb.com/radio. Some of the great programming, some of the nostalgia programming that we're going to be bringing on the airwaves. I'm really excited about it. Can't wait. I'm going to be listening to it as I'm working around the house, getting some of my chores done. Of course, invite a friend to patriotfb.com. Help us grow the site. This is a site for us patriots. We have designed it, we have built it, and we have maintained it with the intentions of getting the message out there. And we need your help in doing that. We need you to invite you. You are the credibility to our site. We need you to go out and invite your friends to post on Facebook. Get them over here. Because as long as they're over here, they'll always have a place to speak their mind. They'll always be part of the conversation. Pull up a chair, sit around the table. That's what it's all about here at the patriotfb.com. That's what this show's all about. You will always have a seat at this table, at this conversation. Like always, I just want to say thank you to all of the supporters out there, all the ones that are sending prayers and blessings to my way, to my family's way. You know, I want to let those individuals know that back at you. But with that, I just want to say, until we talk again next Monday, my friends, my fellow patriots, my fellow Americans, may God bless you. May God keep you safe and secure. And you will always be in my hearts and my prayers. Good night.